Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
How about now? How about now? Anything? Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you, BZ. I appreciate that. Didn't want to get too far in before we realized there was no sound. So thank you very much for that. And so with that, I will say welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where faith in God is the standard and masculinity is not up for negotiation. Today is Tuesday, March 24th in the year of our Lord 2026. And we have a ton to get into. So let's just go ahead and get after it. Something is broken. And it didn't just break at random. It comes from the fact that we have a short memory. We have a lack of perspective. We forgot. And you can see it, if you're paying attention, you can see it all over the place, in big moments, in small moments. How we treat and run our institutions, how our leaders act under pressure, and what happens how people react when the guardrails are gone or broken, as we said earlier. It's not isolated incidents. This is a pattern. And institutions, agencies, these things are failing. They're failing because the leadership does not prioritize responsibility and duty over ideology. And so when symbols aren't defended and systems don't function, laws are not enforced consistently, that confusion doesn't stay contained. It spreads from government, policy, culture, everywhere, like a cancer. And as you can see from the thumbnail and title, we forgot. We forgot. And the FDNY, they have a memorial at their headquarters, a 9/11 memorial to honor the 343 firefighters that died on 9/11. There's a memorial plaque in the headquarters, and those firefighters earned that plaque in that respect with their lives. And I'm not talking about religion right now. There is a context to this. That plaque, that memorial is sacred. Not all spaces are equal. Not all spaces are interchangeable. And when everything is equal, when they try to make everything the same, nothing is sacred anymore. And so what am I talking about? As you may or may not know, I think either Ramadan for Muslims is either just ended or about to end. And obviously, Mamdani is celebrating Ramadan. And there was I can't remember what they call it when they break their fast in the evening. And there was a celebration at FDNY headquarters. And, well, you know what, let's just take a look at this. And then we'll see, we'll get into exactly what has taken place. Oh, you know what? It's already up there. Oh, this was a bang up start to the show, huh? Oh my goodness. Anyway, so what you're looking at is the entrance to FDNY headquarters. And these are Islamic prayer rugs. And so, just to get you a closer look, yeah, here we go. This is the plaque. These are prayer rugs, and they covered up everything but "We will never forget." Oh, but we did, because we allowed this madness to happen. New York forgot because they elected a guy who celebrates this stuff. It is utter madness. It's infuriating. It's all and people are saying it's no big deal. It's just prayer. It's freedom of religion. Nonsense. Nonsense. If they want to do that in their offices, if they want to have these prayer rugs strewn all over the place in mosques, fine, whatever. But to place Islamic prayer rugs on a 9/11 memorial is the ultimate disrespect. If you thought electing a Muslim mayor who sympathized with the people who planned 9/11 and is taking pictures, palling around with them, if you thought that was the ultimate in disrespect, Mamdani is just getting started. He is just getting started. He's only been in office for a few months. And if this is what New Yorkers are in for the next 4 years, I am genuinely scared about what is going to happen on 9/11, on the memorial of 9/11. 25 years later. That, I don't even want to think about that. I don't even want to think about that. I don't want to think about how much disrespect is going to be on display from this guy on 9/11. And you have firefighters who have expressed concern about this, as they should. Leadership in FDNY has been, whatevs. The spokesperson, she said something ridiculous like it was a space issue. Whatever. These people just have absolutely no respect. And if you think it's not a big deal, that is the point. You have been programmed to believe that. Either you've been programmed to believe it, or you just you're a leftist and you hate America. Because anyone who was of age, anyone who lived through that and actually does love America, when they see something like this, it infuriates them. This was a symbol of sacrifice, and they just desecrated it. No one stepped up in the moment to say, this is inappropriate. No one. Is it fear of backlash? Is it fear of Mamdani? So the lines just get blurred. And I know that he's the mayor, he's in charge. And so some of this is just the way it's going to be. But no one in leadership, no one offered any pushback. And in the moment, but I haven't heard anyone from city government, from FDNY leadership after the fact say anything. This is what weakness in leadership looks like in real time. And I grant you, someone in leadership who steps up and says something, they could get fired. They could get fired. But if you're not going to stand up for something like this, what are you going to stand up for? Especially in the FDNY. The rank and file, I know they've expressed their concerns and their anger at it. But I don't even know if the FDNY union has said anything, honestly. They may have, and I just missed it. But that's a problem. That is a huge, huge problem. If you are not going to defend something sacred, like a 9/11 memorial, if you are not going to defend the American flag, which people love to call free speech when they burn it and desecrate it, if you're not going to defend any of that, don't be surprised when it stops being sacred. Now, I wasn't gonna talk about this, but I think it kind of dovetails into this subject, because I was going to include this in another larger story that I was going to talk about in the next week or so. But this also happened during Ramadan in New York. And when was this? I'm not entirely sure what the date of this is, but check this out.
न्यूयॉर्क पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट के हेडक्वार्टर 1 पुलिस प्लाजा में रमजान की मुनासबत से दूसरी सालाना क्रिसेंट मून लाइटिंग तकरीब मुनक्किद की गई।
They are lighting the crescent, the Islamic crescent, in green at 1 pp.
इस तकरीब में मुस्लिम पुलिस अफसरान, आला हुक्काम और पाकिस्तानी कम्युनिटी के अफराद ने बड़ी तादाद में शिरकत की।
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Lieutenant Ali Hamutoglu. I'm the Vice President of the Muslim Officers Society. Today we gathered over here to lighten the crescent, as you see behind me. It's some sort of awareness for the staff that work in headquarters in One Police Plaza here in New York. For Muslims and non-Muslims, especially for non-Muslims, to know, it's awareness for them to know that.
He said especially non-Muslims.
Ramadan is starting, and this crescent will be lit for about 30 days for everyone walking in and out the door to see it, whether they are on the job or civilians walking in and out. So it's awareness for really mostly for non-Muslims. So
and he said it again.
You know, it's not a part of Islam, but again, we're doing it just awareness for the non-Muslims to show them this is a holy month for us that we're.
I couldn't care less about your holy month, honestly. But so we have the FDNY compromised and the NYPD compromised. And this is not something that is, this is not something that's just random. This is not simply to raise awareness. If you think that, then you have no idea what, you don't know anything about Islam and what their goals are. This is part of their dawah. And dawah is the way they basically evangelize and get people to sympathize and get people, eventually their goal is to get people to convert to Islam. And we're just letting it happen. Because why? We forgot. We forgot what they did. We didn't learn the lessons. They're not just here to raise awareness. They're not just here to, they're not here to assimilate. They're not here to live among the people. They're here to conquer. And the sooner you realize that, the better we'll all be off. Because what they're trying to do is force this exposure, get people to normalize Islamic traditions. And then once that feels normal, once that feels just like, hey, another day, then they will demand more. I have been talking about this for a long, long time. They had, I mean, we can go back. We can go back all the way to 1993 and the attack on the World Trade Center. And then there's September 11th. And then there's the shootout at LAX in 2002. Fort Hood. The subway bombing, the Times Square attempt, the shoe bomber, the Chattanooga shooting at the military facility, I believe it was a recruiting office. There was the one in 2015 in Texas, where they shot at these people who were doing a Muhammad cartoon. And I mean, it just keeps going on and on. And they're trying to get us to believe that this is just, that the normalizing of Islamic traditions in the NYPD and FDNY is just to raise awareness. It is a slap in the face. It is a slap in the face of the families of everyone who died on 9/11. It is a slap in the face of everyone who living through illnesses as a result of their efforts on 9/11. And those who died as a result of those illnesses. And we're just letting it happen. I mean, to the most casual observer, that had to be, absolutely had to be, one of the most tone-deaf things you could ever see. I don't understand how it couldn't be. This is part of a larger pattern. And now that they've elected an Islamic mayor who sympathizes with jihad and the people who planned 9/11, how do you think that's going to play out? Do you think it's going to slow down? Of course not. Right now, they have the Muslim call to prayer every, I think, Friday, where it's broadcast. I say by the end of the summer, you will be hearing it in the streets of New York City every day. And if not by the summer, definitely by the end of the year. Because he is moving at breakneck speed to destroy New York City. And we're just letting it happen. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic, if you think I'm being reactionary, if you think I just hate Muslims, this is a video that Mamdani put out. And I want to make sure I give credit because I got a lot of this from the Rare Foundation. Amy Meck, who has been doing a fantastic job of explaining this and exposing all of this stuff. So be sure to check her out. Follow Amy Meck and the Rare Foundation on X. But this is a video that Mamdani put out. I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's 5 minutes long, but I'm going to play enough of it for you to get the gist.
Many ask me what it means to be the first Muslim mayor of our city. And in that question, there is an assumption that I am introducing our faith to the city as a whole. When in reality, our faith has been a part of this city for generations. The question of whether it's been seen is another matter entirely. But Muslims and New York City, they are intertwined.
Okay, so that's not part of Mamdani's video, obviously. This is the Rare Foundation explaining exactly how Islam and New York City are intertwined. You get the idea. I'm not going to play the whole thing. There's more. You get the idea. This is about what he is prioritizing. What leadership in general, whether it's Mamdani in New York or anyone else. And the standard that they're using isn't, is it right? The standard is, who are we going to offend? Are we going to offend anyone? And for some reason, for some reason that I cannot fathom, they are prioritizing the offense or the feelings of Muslims. The people who at every turn tell us that they are trying to take over. That Islam is going to be in every home. That they're not here to assimilate. And we have 1,400 years of history that shows that that's what they're going to do. Islam was not spread through evangelizing. Islam was not spread through trying to convince people that their way is the right way. No, Islam was spread at the tip of a sword. And there is nothing in their history in that 1,400 years that it suggests that they're going to do anything other than that. Yeah, they're infiltrating the political sphere, and they're getting elected to offices in the UK and over here. They're spreading their money around. But at the end of the day, if any of that fails to work, they're gonna start beheading, or I should say, continue beheading. All right. Let me go ahead and get a word in from our sponsor. And who is our sponsor for today's show? Oh yeah, our sponsor for today's show is Carry Girl Gear. So Easter is coming up, and we have a ton of great Easter t-shirts that show he is risen. Like I said, these are great t-shirts. He is risen. And Easter is a celebration of the fact that he has risen and conquered sin and death so that we could have eternal life in him. So check out carrygirl.com and check out all of these great t-shirts that we have in celebration of the resurrection of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. This one is actually pretty funny. Hanging with my peeps. And it's got the little bunnies with the ARs, because they're not taking any mess from these Muslims that are trying to kill us. Did I say that? I did. Anyway. So head over to carrygirl.com, check out all of those great designs, and celebrate the resurrection of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. carrygirl.com. All right, y'all. I am Biggie, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network. And we have a ton of a lot of great shows here on the SHR Media Network. You can catch my good friend Sackhead Sean on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Jersey Joe, the Reaver of Common Sense, and his show on Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. BZ in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. And the new guy, Lyle Armstrong, with Beer and Bullstein on Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Please be sure to like and subscribe to all those great shows. Share the shows. Everybody on this network has some great insights and stuff that you will not want to miss. So be sure to check all of those out and share them, and pray that we continue to break through and reach as many people as we possibly can. The algorithm is trying to stifle us, so please like and and comment. We definitely want to hear from you. I see the chat is jamming, as it has been quite a bit lately, and I'm sure that the moderators are holding it down. So I appreciate you all for that. Thank you very much. I'm sure that I said some things that got a lot of people riled up, and guess what? I don't care. And if I see something I absolutely have to respond to, I will. I tend to let the moderators handle the chat. They do a fantastic job. So please keep it respectful, and we look forward to hearing from you in the chat. All right, now back to the briefing. And I want to get into the DHS shutdown. We saw, as we talked about, FDNY dropping the ball with the 9/11 memorial. Congress is dropping the ball with DHS and its funding. I believe we're in the day 38, excuse me, of the DHS shutdown. And I can say with all confidence, Congress hates you. Congress hates you, couldn't care less about you. And just like with FDNY dropping the ball with that 9/11 memorial, I don't know that it was malicious or just misguided. I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit of both. But with Congress, I can say with confidence that it is malicious. They hate you. They want to see you in pain. They want to see you completely inconvenienced at airports. They want to see security lapse. And I guess somebody's at the door. But this DHS shutdown, it leaves the TSA unpaid. They're now, I think on Friday, it will be a month since they got a paycheck. They've had, according to DHS, 400 TSA employees quit because they just can't sustain another shutdown. And that put a that put a strain on the system. And I'm sure you saw all of the reports, all the media reports, all the lines wrapping around baggage claim and going outside. And they don't care. They don't care. They see it as leverage. They've said as much in previous shutdowns. Famously, Chris Coons and some other woman, I can't remember her name, said that they were using it as leverage. They were using our pain as leverage. And so President Trump decided to step in and deploy ICE agents into airports. Now, despite all of the chaos, and let me just say this, the two pilots who lost their lives as a result of a collision with a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport, such a tragic incident. I don't believe that it really has a whole lot to do with the shutdown. I think it was based on what I've seen and what I've heard from the recordings of the transmissions. Tragic mistake. Sad, tragic. I'm not going to lay the blame for that anyway on the shutdown. Now I could be wrong. It could be down to that. I'm not sure, but we'll see. And so my condolences go out to the families of all those who lost their lives and were injured. That's a tough situation. But getting back to the chaos of this, the airports, they were functioning, not well, but they were still functioning. Flights were still getting off the ground eventually. The presence of ICE has helped stabilize some of the pressure points. In fact, and I know this is anecdotal and not necessarily indicative of all of the airports where ICE has been deployed, but I saw this morning and thought it was worth noting. Check this out.
And the wait line looks like this. In the couple of hours that I've been here, I've seen ICE officers patrolling, and the line has looked the same since I got here. Completely empty. So if you see wait times go down while you're traveling, you may just want to thank an ICE officer. Earlier this morning, travelers may have experienced a little bit of a wait time, but since I've been here, the lines seem to be moving fairly smooth. In the wait.
And that is a huge contrast to reports that I've seen in other airports. And I'm sure this is somewhat of a smaller airport, granted. But I saw reports this morning from a couple of other larger airports where it was a lot less chaotic. And so President Trump decided to show some leadership and step in and fix the problem. I know a lot of people would rather have seen the chaos continue and would rather have put a lot more pressure on the Democrats to come back to the table and actually fix this. But I think that shows that the president is more concerned with the American people than with political expediency. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of pushback from that. But I think in this case, I mean, that's kind of obvious. President Trump stepped up and showed some leadership. Now, the critics will say, well, ICE isn't trained to do TSA's job. And they're right. But it's not, TSA's job is not a very specialized skill set. I'm not sure what training, how much training they actually go through, but I don't think it's anywhere near what ICE agents or any other law enforcement agents go through. And the thing about ICE is they are familiar with these machines that they use to scan luggage and people, because they use it at the border. So it's not like there's going to be a huge learning curve. But the alternative of not having ICE in these airports, not good. So the question isn't, is this ideal? The question is, what happens if you do nothing? And we saw what happened before ICE was deployed. Now, here's my observation. Why not have ICE in the airports? Why haven't they been there all along, honestly? When we talk about illegal immigration, we talk about illegal border crossings. And that has been a huge problem until President Trump stepped in and solved that. The illegal border crossings notwithstanding, most illegal immigration is a result of visa overstays. So why not have a law enforcement presence at these checkpoints in airports? Why wasn't it a thing already, honestly? ICE agents are much better trained at spotting fake IDs. So, like I said, why weren't they there already? I personally believe, and please feel free to disagree with me, but I think that this should be a precursor to having ICE just take over airport security. Have the TSA screeners report to ICE agents, have an ICE agent in these locations where they have these screenings so that they can catch some of these illegal aliens that are just gallivanting across the country. People come here illegally and don't leave. Happens mostly at airports. It only seems to me to make sense to have ICE at these airports. And then the question becomes, to me, is this what President Trump has in mind already? I know it's going to take, I know there's going to be some congressional maneuvering that's going to have to take place to make it happen. But if this goes on for long enough and the American people see some positive results from this, I don't see why it wouldn't happen. Because I think the left has completely destroyed any chances they had of taking power in the midterms and 2028. I think this DHS shutdown has completely destroyed any and all chances that they had for that, barring some ridiculous, unforeseen event that swings it the other way. But I think this is the beginning of a fantastic idea. And since Congress couldn't find it in themselves to resolve any of this, President Trump decides to step in with a solution. This is what happens when a real leader actually stands in the gap and says, okay, this is what we're going to do. While Congress is floundering and bickering and doing everything but their job, as they're getting paid, while DHS and TSA agents are not getting paid and quitting to find other employment. This is how things get done, and I'm happy to see it. And I really hope that this is a precursor to seeing ICE get a airport division. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Give me a reason why it wouldn't make sense. Anyway, I want to pivot to something else that President Trump did. Well, you know, before we do that, before we get into that, the culture that we're seeing today is in such a state of degradation that people are celebrating death. And we know the left, they have no respect for life. We see it with the way they shout their abortions, and they're all in on euthanasia. So why not celebrate death? And last week, Chuck Norris passed away. One of my childhood action heroes that I looked up to, that I loved watching his movies. And the reaction. Now, I thought Chuck Norris was beloved regardless of politics. I was wrong, because what I saw on social media was the same vile nonsense that we saw when Rush Limbaugh passed away, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And we could go back through. There were some prominent conservative media members who passed away during COVID. Their deaths were celebrated. Chuck Woolery's death was celebrated. I know most people consider him a game show host, but in his later in life, he had a very conservative podcast. And if you saw him on X or Twitter, you knew he was a strong conservative. And the left celebrated their deaths. And they didn't just criticize their ideas. They actually celebrated and mocked and took victory laps when these people died. They didn't criticize their record. They actually celebrated their deaths. And there was a time not that long ago, well, maybe it was a little while ago now, but that was just something that you didn't do. You didn't, especially someone who you had no connection to other than knowing their name. Celebrities. Like I've said before, celebrity deaths don't really affect me one way or the other. I mean, Chuck Norris was, like I said, a childhood icon of mine, and I'm sad for his family, but it wasn't like it's not like I was breaking down in tears over anything like that. But that was just something, celebrating somebody's death just seemed to be, or used to be, something that just didn't happen. But now it's become normalized, especially on the left. So I completely condemn that behavior. Like when Jesse Jackson passed away. Feel sorry for his family, but that's about the extent of my comments on it. So I don't support mocking, celebrating the death of anyone. And I condemn anyone who does it, because it's just wrong. And if it's wrong for them, then it's wrong for us. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Just like when I talked about, well, you know what, let's, as I said, you know where I'm going with it. Let's go ahead and get to it. President Trump he celebrated when it was announced that Robert Mueller passed away. He said, "Good, I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people, President Donald J. Trump." Now, that was wrong. That was wrong, and I'm going to say it was wrong. I support President Trump, but that was a misstep. That was an unforced error on his part. Now, just like with Mark Wayne Mullen and Rand Paul, I don't condone it, but I do completely understand why he did it. Mueller went after him and his family and his associates and the family of his associates for a very, very long time and went after them hard. Hard. So he's bitter. He's bitter. I get it. Were I advising him, I would have told him to just not say anything. Not even condolences to the family, nothing. Just don't say anything, because even if he had done that, that would have been seen as insincere, because we knew he wouldn't mean it. So, I mean, he's Trump. He's going to do what he's going to do. I was actually kind of surprised at the number of people who didn't really come down hard on Trump for doing this. I mean, a lot of people did, don't get me wrong. But a lot of people are taking the tack that I have, which is Mueller went after him hard, and so I'll give him a pass. I'm not going to give him a pass. Like I said, I understand why he did it. I understand. I get it. But for me, if I'm going to condemn the left for celebrating the death of Chuck Norris and Charlie Kirk, then I'm going to have to call out President Trump for doing the same thing, even though this guy, by all accounts, was a bad guy. I get it. But for me, just don't say anything, because it makes it harder for conservatives to condemn the left when they do this. It's just a cycle of dehumanization. The enemy becomes less than human. And once that happens, pretty much anything is acceptable. And that's not who we as conservatives should be aspiring to be. Because that's not politics anymore. Now, from a biblical perspective, loving your enemies is not a suggestion. It's a command. Luke 6, 26 and 27, Jesus says, "But I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you." That is Jesus' command to us. And as a Christian, I am going to condemn that kind of behavior. Justice is allowed, and justice is what we should be striving for. Cruelty, however, is not. Hatred is not a fruit of the Spirit. And you don't have to like someone or even respect someone as a person to recognize their humanity and understand that we were all made in the image of God. And so in that, there is an inherent value in life. And I'm not saying that you have to celebrate their lives and lie about how great they were. I'm not saying that at all. But if you don't like or respect someone in life, then you don't have to say anything in death. Like, Our mothers always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And that would have been my advice to President Trump in this instance. Because this constant outrage, this rage bait cycle that we live in these days in social media, everything is framed as a threat. Leftists see conservatives as evil, not wrong. And since they have no grounding in Christianity, a conservative's death feels like a relief to them, even a victory. They don't value life. I mentioned before, they're all in on abortion and euthanasia, and so celebrating the death of an enemy is par for the course. And that's not something that we should fall into. As a human being, as I said, I get it. As a human being, as someone who has had enemies, as someone who has had beef with people, as someone who saw the death of people years ago that I didn't like, I get it. I'm not saying I witnessed the death, but I'm saying people who were in and around my life who passed away that I wasn't a fan of. I get it. We have to have, as conservatives, we know the left has no limiting principles. As conservatives, we have to have some limiting principles. And this seems to be an easy one to me. A culture that celebrates death has pretty much lost its sense of life and how sacred life actually is, even our enemies. And so for President Trump to do that, that just perpetuates the whole thing that we just really don't need any more of that. We don't need it. And I don't think it's going to affect him politically. As I said, I was surprised at how many people actually don't really care. But this is where we are. All right, I got a couple more stories I want to get to. And something that points to this pattern of the system breaking down. It points to this pattern of lack of respect for institutions, lack of respect for life. We have a problem when leadership just decides, because not making a decision is a decision. When leadership just refuses or decides not to enforce the law, they regulate everything else. And there has been a continuous push for strict gun control. And at the same time, and this is something we've talked about before, at the same time that they are refusing, or that they are pushing for more restrictions on guns, more gun control, they refuse to prosecute repeat offenders. Just flat out refuse. The criminal who killed the woman in Virginia a month or so ago, he was a repeat offender. I believe he had 45 prior arrests before he killed her. And I mean, you can just look at any of the tragedies that happen. Sheridan Holman. That's another tragic story. The illegal alien who shot and killed her had been arrested before. And because of sanctuary policies in Chicago. And I mean, you can pick any leftist run jurisdiction, find an innocent person who was killed, and I would say 99.999% of the time, the perpetrator had a lengthy criminal history. And so they continue to push for we the people to have less resources to protect ourselves, while they let these criminal dirtbags, and in a lot of cases illegal aliens as well, just roam the streets unchecked. This is a pattern. This is a pattern, and I know that the left sees it. They have to see it. There's no way that they can't see it. But for whatever reason, suicidal empathy, mental illness, whatever the case may be, they just refuse to acknowledge it. Mayor Mohawk, Brandon Johnson in Chicago, once famously said, "You can't incarcerate yourself out of a crime problem." And we can point to Rudy Giuliani in New York doing the exact opposite of that. We can point to in current present day, Nayib Bukele in El Salvador. Built a gigantic maximum security prison, locked up all the criminals, and now El Salvador is one of, if not the safest country in the Western Hemisphere per capita. There's almost no murder going on in El Salvador. Why? Because he locked up the criminals. So you absolutely can. You have no choice. You have to incarcerate yourself out of a crime problem. That's the only way to do it. Arrest, prosecute, incarcerate. It's really simple. And it's not like we have to pass a bunch of new laws. We just have to enforce the laws that are currently on the books. But that will cost something politically. And gun control shifts that. It shifts the focus from the criminals who are causing the chaos to inanimate objects and the people who use those inanimate objects to protect themselves from the criminals that they refuse to incarcerate. Law-abiding citizens are predictable. Law-abiding citizens are going to obey the law. Criminals, by definition, are not. So the system, if left to its own devices, is going to gravitate towards what it can more easily control. And so the people who they know are going to comply, those are the ones who get targeted. And it's the results, the consequences of that kind of stance, the consequences of that are tragic. Enforcing the laws, accepting that there's going to be some conflict, that is part of being in charge. That is part of your responsibility as government officials, as law enforcement. Enforcing the laws and accepting the conflict that comes from that is part of the responsibility of government. But if they choose to control the population that is more easily controlled, that is more compliant, that eventually leads to chaos, because one of those actually builds and maintains order, and the other is just an illusion of action. An illusion feels like progress, and the other one actually is progress, because the illusion eventually breaks down. And when the illusion breaks down, people lose trust in the institutions that are supposed to protect them. And this is something that we've talked about on this show many times, that we can't trust these people to pretty much do anything, especially protect us. And it's something else I've said, we have to be our own first responders. And I'm not saying that would have helped Sheridan Gorman or any of the other victims of these criminals, because a lot of times it's just been, they just see someone and decide they're going to inflict harm on them. These victims aren't going out running in circles that normally would put them in danger. Woman in Virginia was at a bus stop. Sheridan Gorman was with her friends walking home, less than a mile from her house, from her apartment. People caught up in random drive-bys. If we can't trust these people, then we have to be able to protect ourselves, and they don't want that either. Why is that? Because they have to be in control. But something that they never seem to address is, then why won't they control the criminals? Well, my theory is, and feel free to disagree with me, but my theory is that they're using the criminals. They're using the criminals as their militant wing to assist them in controlling us. I said that a long time ago when Antifa was and BLM was all the rage. They were using them to control the population, using them to keep the citizens in check, to instill a spirit of fear. Well, they're mistaken, because they are no longer seen as a legitimate they are no longer seen as legitimate. We just don't trust them. If you don't enforce the law consistently, then you will enforce it unpredictably. I saw a story of a guy who is facing 10 years in prison for cheating at some event. I can't remember exactly what it was. And a guy who was convicted of sexually assaulting a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old, I believe, got 180 days. I think that is pretty much the definition of enforcing law unpredictably. If you're a believer in the Second Amendment, then I suggest that you start to practice it. I suggest that you start to train or continue to train. I suggest that you, especially these days, I suggest that you practice and engage in your Second Amendment rights. And I'll just leave that there for your interpretation. But this isn't about just a simple, a single policy debate or anything like that. It's about the system as we know it shirking their responsibilities. Their number one, as President Trump pointed out in the State of the Union, their number one responsibility is to keep the citizens safe. And they are failing miserably. And so by participating and using your Second Amendment rights, you are filling that gap. All right, I could go on and on and on about that. We got about 10 minutes left. There was I see the chat is lively as usual. This is this is an interesting one. Zach Scott says, maggots don't want to admit that it goes both ways. Y'all think you're the only ones with the ability to protect yourself. I'm not sure what you mean by that, because law-abiding citizens aren't going around assaulting people. We will be protecting ourselves from the people who are doing the assaulting. So are you saying that you're going to be the one who's going to be going around assaulting MAGA supporters? Because that's what it sounds like. And that's not defending yourself. That's inviting someone to defend themselves against you. And if they're ready for you, well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, right? I see people talk about that all the time. And it's like, somebody who's defending themselves is minding their own business. If you're talking about going out and looking for people against whom you have to defend yourself, well, then that's not defense. Anyway, but thank you for the chat. I appreciate you being here. Love it. Yeah, let's I wanted to I wanted to show you this. This is kind of one of those feel good videos that I know some people probably will think it's not will think it's not good to chuckle at, but I found it quite inspiring. And I'm not going to play the audio because the audio is just somebody commenting, and it's very profanity laced. But so I'm going to put my comments over it. But this happened at an intersection. Not sure exactly where. I didn't get a chance to dig into where it actually took place. Maybe somebody in the chat knows, but this was one of those things that I just found so heartwarming. Check this out.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, there's some geek shit right here, cuz.
Now this guy right here, he is tweaking out on something, getting on somebody's car. And they're trying to negotiate with this guy. And somebody just says, you know what? I've had enough of this. Boom. I probably shouldn't be laughing, but I just found it so satisfying. And then he just gets in his car and drives off. Problem solved. I don't know about you, but I thought that was BZ says that's when you hit R for reverse. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if the guy who had this person on his vehicle had a lot of room to put it in reverse. It doesn't look like he did. But you can't negotiate with these people. You just got to yank them. Sometimes you just got to yank somebody off the roof and keep it moving. Yeah. What do you think about that? I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic because obviously somebody else is going to stop and hopefully give this guy the help he needs. He clearly needs it. But so did the person whose vehicle he was on, doing damage to the hood, doing damage to the roof, keeping him from getting to where he was supposed to be. I don't see a problem with it. But let me know what you think. All right, y'all. That's going to do it for us here today. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being in the chat. Before we go, I did want to make sure to bring up, I failed to do it earlier in the show, but I did want to make sure to bring up the SHR Media Shop. And let me just pull that up real quick. The SHR Media Shop is where you can go to get all of the logo tees for all of the guys on the channel. The Edge of Liberty with Sackhead Sean, the Berserk Bobcat Saloon with BZ, who was in chat, Beer and Bullstein, Lyle, and the Reverb Common Sense, Jersey Joe. You can head over to shr.com, click the top the top banner, and it will bring you over to the SHR Media Shop, where you can check out all of the great products that we have there. We have the 250 Reasons to Read Source Documents tee in honor of our 250th birthday as a nation. So please be sure to check that out. We have the SHR mug, and again, all of the logo tees for this show, Edge of Liberty, Beer and Bullstein, the Berserk Bobcat Saloon, and the Reaver of Common Sense, and the logo tees, the logo hoodie and tee. So please be sure to head over there to check those out. All right, that is going to do it. We're not just here to yap into the ether. We are here to equip Christian men. We're here to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope into the next generation. And if anything that we talked about today matters to you, please share it. Share it with another guy. Bring him into the fight. And if you want to wear what you stand for, head over to the missionreadymen.com shop and hit Shop 7 Armors and check out all the great designs we have over there about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And remember, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away. But the Lord is right there with you, so keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.